I show a thumbs up and you all are good to start, okay? I show a thumbs up and
A very happy evening to our dear parents, Ms. Shweta, the makers, our patrons, our mentors, and my dear friends.
We are truly delighted to welcome you here today.
I am Siddharth of the 𝐷𝐸 batch.
And I'm Shreya from the same batch.
Together with a few of our friends, we shall take you through this evening.
We thank you all for making time on this Sunday evening. Hope you all are doing fine and being safe at your homes during the pandemic. Very soon we will be witnessing the mystery being unveiled by the makers of the school.
The magnificence of ideas put together to build this one-of-a-kind school is sure to amaze all of us.
Our team of architects, Mr. Shankar, having many prestigious awards to his credit and a keen eye for design in detail. Mr. Praveen and Ms. Ria. Ms. Ria is a student of Interiors and Design from the LaSalle University, Singapore.
The landscape artist Mr. Kishore and the sports facility developer Mr. Len together present to you Pallikudam 3.0. And I have a question here. Will I be able to experience Pallikudam 3.0 before I pass out and move on to college?
We shall now begin this interactive evening, and I would like to invite my friend Harishri to take over.
Thank you, Siddharth and Shreya. I would like to begin by sharing my experience as a rackster from the year of inception, and I am fortunate to be a student who has witnessed the rapid growth of our community. I still remember the days when we first batch students used to talk about large and spacious classrooms while we were still in Little Pallikudam. The little scientists of our school awaited the science labs. The sporty ones awaited the sports complex. The first 2 years for the racksters passed by at the little campus, and then came a moment to move into a new campus to begin a new academic year. The empty corridors and classrooms in our new campus were painted colorful with our hands on and minds on. That was one of the times when I felt proud to be a rackster. The unique features about our school still fascinates a lot of students, including me. And all our thanks goes to Ms. Shweta, who has taken initiative to not only make the school special, but also fulfill the wishes of students. I believe that she has looked over the intricate requirements which we students need in an advanced 21st century learning environment. Ms. Shweta, we would like to know what inspired you to start a school like RACS 3.0. And I request you to introduce the makers of this unique purpose-built school to the community.
Thank you, Harishri. A happy evening to all parents, children, our mentors, and the community. And to begin with, the research-proven fact of children spending close to 8 hours of active time at school per day, that accounts to close to 60 to 70% of the time they are awake is spent at school. And how engaging an environment are we offering to the 21st? Are we offering to talk about the 21st century skills and the 21st century curriculum? Well, to do justice to this and to see the visible results on the children, the environment needs to cater and enable the development of these skills was my belief. And while researching over the 21st century pedagogy back during my research program, I stumbled across the 21st century learning and teaching to the true sense. So in case you need to have the 21st century learning skill passed over to the child, the environment they thrive on needs to be the focus, and it starts evolving from the environment. And as we are dealing with children who are a witness to advancements in technology, food, clothes, almost everything around them, how is the environment, the school environment upgraded to meet these demands is a question for us to ponder. I believe a very important part of every child's experience at school should be shaped by architecture. How many of you would agree with me on that? The purpose of Little and RACS Pallikudam was to inspire creativity in young learners and to improve the quality of life through design. a design that fosters the quintessential requirement of the 22nd century industry age that these children are going to move on to. Problem solving, creativity, reasoning, teamwork, communication, negotiation, citizenship, self-brief, and adaptability would be the skills that these children would need to thrive in a world of the unknown. I guess the present pandemic has taught us the need of these skills for survival. How many of us have felt left out when the lockdown was announced on March 24th, not knowing how we are going to survive, how we are going to thrive with the limitations that we were left with? This is where the creativity and the communication and the negotiations skills do matter. For a child to develop these skills that cannot be forced upon or taught in a school environment, because it comes from engagement and experience, they need to thrive to experience this, and in a purpose-built environment. That's the vision behind 𝐸 3.0. Children being the main consumers of education, we need to provide them an environment that builds the self-confidence, gives them the self-esteem to unlock the creativity. We worked on three main principles when we worked as a team with Mr. Shankar and the landscape person, Mr. 𝐾𝐲. The main three principles that we identified was the need for children, age-appropriate need at different grades and at different stages of development. We have children as young as 2.5 to 18 years who thrive in an environment called the school. How are we going to cater to the needs of children coming of different age was our main focus. Second, a design to help children discover life skills and attributes that would be a lifelong learning, such as teamwork, negotiations, reasoning. Finally, we came down to education and design by linking up both education and design. When we started Little Pallikudam in 2014, a Regio-inspired campus advancing to a grade school of racks, operating from grade 1 to 5 in different subject corners rather than regimental classrooms. It was a pilot study, and we have seen visible learning outcomes in these children who are here with us this evening leading this meet. The choice of colors that has had a dramatic impact on the school building and on a mood of a child was another area of research. Ask yourself, how would you react with colors around you? With colors like shades of brown, shades of black and gray, would you feel motivated to be creative? In schools, colors are usually an add-on or an afterthought, but in our Regio philosophy, we have a color concept of white, yellow, with a natural tone of wood, appropriate for the early learners, whereas the middle school and teenagers' mood and student achievement is inclined towards bright and bold colors, and care should be taken to use these appropriate colors for a beneficial effect. Colors have the power to take a mind to a higher level, encouraging reflection and creativity. This is the power of a color, and the right color to be chosen for the environment in regard to the different ages of development was the other area that we had to ponder on. As Pallikudam proverb goes, it takes a community to raise a child. And in RAC's community, we have a parent community, a teacher community, and a student community that we had every corner to design and allotted in this 5-acre campus. I take this opportunity to thank the parent community of Pallikudam to have patiently waited with us to make this a reality. It doesn't stop our Little Pallikudam campus from these facilities, as we are working on integrating most of these facilities too. Now, to introduce the makers behind 𝐸 3.0, to make all this a reality, I should say I'm really fortunate to have had to be introduced to Mr. Sai Shankar Bhatthan, the senior architect and founder of 𝐸 architecture firm Bangalore, and it's a honor working with an architect who has had a hat trick of J.K. Simmons Architect of the Year award, among many more. Architect of the Year for the Brigade Courtyard, to name a few to his achievements. And he is assisted by his junior, Mr. Praveen, and Mr. Sai introduced us to Mr. 𝐾𝐲, a landscape designer from Bangalore, and works under the banner Sinai Consortium, operating out of Singapore and Bangalore. And finally, I would say that sports has brought us together for the sports infrastructure development under the guidance of Mr. Len Ayappa, the former India hockey player who's instrumental for our sports facility in action. Well, welcome on board the makers of 𝐸 3.0. And finally, Ria, my daughter, who has collaborated the Regio spaces along with the early childhood development requirements. Thank you for taking the time off and making it possible to meet our community and to express the design and the reason behind it. Thanks, everyone. Now, I would like Mr. Shankar to take on and to share your experiences in designing RACS 3.0.
A very good evening to parents, teachers, co-makers, and dear children. I'll just start with sharing my screen. I think this screen sharing needs to be enabled. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is, like our firm works on schools, and like we are currently doing a couple of schools, but I must say that working on RACS Pallikudam has been a very different experience, because it's the first time where we have worked with a client who is so hands-on with every detail, and there's been quite a lot of learning even for us as architects. Like in some ways I would say that we are probably the oldest her older students in this gathering. So basically Shweta had the vision of taking the school in the direction of the 21st century education, the pedagogical method. Now, if any of you have gone to the school somewhere, like anytime recently, you will probably, this is the first building which you will see, and you'll be wondering, what kind of a building this is. It looks somewhere between a staircase and a large building or a gallery or something like that. So this is how we visualize it coming together, and I believe all of you will find this a truly beautiful and a unique piece of architecture. And this is the culmination of the collaborative work of architects, of engineers, of landscape architects. Mr. Kishore is here. Then the sports facility. So we have all come together to create this, and we are very excited about the outcome. We believe that this will be a truly unique school in Coimbatore and like in India, at large. So here is the collaboration. Like a lot of brainstorming has happened. We have had sessions with teachers, and like Shweta has extensively like given us input at various stages. Everybody has been hands-on. Now talking about 21st century, so our idea has been to make a school which is 21st century education ready. Now, the simple thing about this is that, like Shweta mentioned, the environment itself is the third teacher. Now, so basically, we are moving away from the traditional pedagogical paradigm of rote learning, of a copy from the teacher to paste into the head of the student, and we had to move to a paradigm where concepts and knowledge are sort of made available to the student, and they have to figure out things with it. So it's actually learning by doing. So basically, like when you do something, like the learning which you assimilate tends to stay with you. So what, as architects, what we had to do was this. This was our entire challenge. Our challenge is that we create space which is something like opportunity, like where we place props and objects and things. Then the teachers have an activity which they run in this space using these objects and props, and finally what you expect out of it is the learning outcome. So this is, this would give the whole like map of what we have tried to do in the school. Yeah, so Thank you. With that, I'll give it back to you. Yeah.
You know, Mr. Shankar, you really make us feel proud of having you amongst us today.
Shreya, you just stole my thought. That's exactly what I thought too.
That's okay, Siddharth. You'll have better opportunities. I'm interested in knowing how the makers have such talented personalities among them. Can we hear Mr. Praveen?
Hello. Yes, Harini. See, it's all about our design space, where we share our thoughts and critique and everything. I would say I had a very different experience on the whole with designing Rax Pallikudam. It was challenging to design with 21st century learning as such. So, in the end, I would say it's all about sharing our knowledge is where we learn the best. End of the day, everything came down to the teamwork, which made an idea into a reality, which you are witnessing now. Thank you.
Do you know who's been an intern through this process?
Yes, that's a member of our very own Pallikudum family. Miss Ria, would you like to share your experience as an architect intern?
Hi everybody, happy evening from Singapore. I'd actually like to thank my mom and Mr. Shankar and Mr. Praveen for actually giving me this opportunity. I think it's something everybody would kill for in my batch or year to actually intern and to work on such close proximity with a client and also my supervisors. So just a brief accumulation of what I did over the course of 4 months was actually I went so when COVID was at its peak, so we did have a few virtual tours where I did go and see early learning centers and also 21st century learning schools in Singapore. And I also happened to work in very close proximity because the client happened to be my mom. And Mr. Sai, Mr. Praveen have been nothing but they've been nothing but amazing when coming to work with them. Like I've learned so much, and this project has definitely been something I've seen since inception. So having to work on it and having my work actually be there when I walk into that space is something I'm really proud of. And so yeah, that's pretty much my experience, and I hope to share more.
I'm intrigued to hear from our landscape artist, Mr. Kishore. Kindly take us through your unique contribution.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, all. It's been a wonderful opportunity to work on this project. I would really like to say that it's a team and a very good collaborative approach. Shankar being in the lead, and Miss Shweta Krishnamurthy herself being a primary architect. I would like to say. Uh, Very nicely is being put together. All the elements brought on, the kind of learning what is required. So how the Shankar has dealt in kind of turning the architectural building into a learning. The same has been extended the landscape too. Every space outside, I would like to say that it's a good new learning experience. You step in at the entry and carry forward with your very nice built-in your sports courts by Mr. Ayappa, and carry forward with your furthermore from the traffic islands to the kitchen garden, and furthermore down with lots of adventure activities. It's very good and one of the unique spaces. I mean, rather, I wouldn't like to say that there's one unique space. There's everything has been put together nicely. One of the spaces I would definitely love to put in is the Miyawaki forest. The kind of Japanese style or a Japanese methodology of planting, I would like to say. Giving an exclusive understanding of how a forest thrives. The kind of different species thriving. Is been brought out very nicely. You have a very unique experience explorations like bio caves, small water streams, dry creek. All has been nicely put together in a small space. Although it's a small space, but harmoniously, brought in together. Then furthermore, when you go in, you have adventure for the small kids and a trampoline, nice trampoline park, where you do experience a lot of things like climbing in a different way. The climbing exercises being from the rope, from the tires, and getting on to the elevated level itself is a very nice experience, I would like to say, in the trampoline park area. Then you culminate with a nice sensory garden, a very nice approach in terms of how uniquely the nature itself molds, in terms of the noise, in terms of the music, I would say, and touch bases. Either if it's, if it's a foot touch or a hand touch, all those skills, has been brought together very well. Yeah. And you also have a very nice outdoor library too, having it as an extended space from your from the nicely built library. Yeah. So that's the whole part of the entire design. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you for those thoughts, Mr. Kishore. I think it's the sports arena that's on everyone's mind, and that's something that stands out even as we drive past the Avinashi Road. Mr. Len, tell us about the Pallikudam ideals that you found interesting while incorporating your share into the design and layout.
Happy evening, all of you. First of all, I would like to thank RACS Pallikudam School and Shweta ma'am for giving me an opportunity to work on the sports fields. And now I've been visiting RACS Pallikudam every week, and to get it to a perfection. And so I really enjoy coming to the site every week. So normally I don't visit sites very frequently, but when it comes to RACS Pallikudam, I don't mind going to the site every week. So I'll start with the badminton court. So we have installed teakwood flooring, 6 badminton courts, and in that 3 badminton courts are synthetic, world-class synthetic material what we have installed. So coming to the tennis courts, we have 3 tennis courts. That is 2 double-sided tennis courts, 1 is single. So we have used one of the best material in the world called KDF from Greece for the layers on the coloring and all that. So after that, we have a tennis wall, ribbon wall. That tennis wall is for the practice purpose for the students and the players, for the rebound, backhand, and service purpose. And when after that, we have basketball court. So even that basketball court is of KDF acrylic coat, 9 layer. So even that one we have imported from Greece. So normally, Ma'am Shweta ma'am wanted the best material to be used on the sports surface. Whenever I had a meeting with her, she wanted the best to give it to the students. So after that, we have a football court. We have a 5-a-side and a 7-a-side football ground, where it is also a multi-purpose ground where you can play the other sports also. And it is 55 mm thickness, and we have an infill of silica sand and rubber granules to give the cushioning. And in another 10 days time, we should be finishing all the sports surfacing. And I think in another 10-15 days, the students can enjoy the surface. Yeah, thank you.
So that's the makers team to our audience. Now we have a bunch of RAC stars having questions just like Siddharth, and they are waiting in line to pose them to the makers. Hi Kian, you are spearheading the line of questions, so go ahead.
I have been confined to my house for too long. I would like to know what you will be keeping in store for my friends and myself when we finally start attending school.
I have noticed our teachers having discussions with our makers. What did you all discuss?
That's right, Dakshana. We did have a couple of instructions with the makers. We were fortunate to be given an opportunity to provide our inputs to the team and were pleasantly surprised with their experience and back-end research in the field of creating futuristic learning spaces suited to the needs of today's children. Mr. Shankar, I request you to share your past experiences on working with similar projects and also let everyone here know what we can expect.
Okay, let me just share my screen again. Yeah. Yes, so this gives an overview of the school. This is an aerial view of the school. So if you know, like as you will notice, the entire front portion of the school, there are so many sports courts and arenas. We used to joke that this is actually a school which is attached to a sports complex. So now when you look at this, like the way it has been designed is that there are these two different curriculum schools which are going to function in this one campus. So these two blocks are designed for the two different, like syllabi. So, and then we have this central block, which is here, which actually is what we call the gallery block. It's one of the things which we have tried to do is to actually help the children to think out of the box, in the sense that a building need not necessarily look like a building. So this block has actually been designed as a giant gallery which starts from the ground going all the way to the third floor. And the way we have designed it is that all the common facilities of the school, which are going to be shared by both the board, like schools are all placed over here so that they can actually share these facilities. So the labs, all the labs, the library, like all the things are placed here. Now, one more thing what we have done is that since the sports, like the sporting arenas are right in front, like you have the basketball to one side and then you have the soccer to the other. What we have tried to do is that we have put all the staircases of the school here, and we in such a way that you have places to sit, like you have seating galleries here, and this is the way in which all the children and the teachers will be going to the different blocks. From there, you actually get a view of the sports, like, and as you come further down, the steps sort of go all the way across. So you can actually sit anywhere and have a view of the, of the sporting arena. Yep. Thank you.
We have heard words like a pot, a quad. So what's all that about?
Yes, that is one of the, like one of the interesting things what we have tried to do is that now when you look at, like when you look at these two blocks, the way it works is that the ground floor of these blocks actually are occupied by the, the toddler, small children. So it's K to grade 1. So they get to use the lower level, and that we have called the quad. But then what happens is that from grade 2 to the upper classes, they are actually on the upper floors here. So the challenge was actually to try and create some place for them also at their floor, so that they don't have to mix with the with the lower children. So we have created something called the pod. It looks a bit like a UFO, which has landed in the courtyard. So the concept here is that while the little children have their safe haven below, like they have their play area, which we'll discuss later, what happens is that these upper floors, the children actually have their own congregation space here. One of the interesting things about the 21st century learning is that you not only learn by doing, you also learn by seeing other people do something. So what we, like what we envisaged was that suppose there is, some function happening here, some art workshop or some, like some oratory thing happening here. The children who are on these floors will actually be able to look in, be a part of it, listen to probably something what is going on here. So they always get the sense that they are part of the activity or the buzz which is happening. So this is what we call the, the pod. So the pod is designed in such a way that of these floors, the children can actually come and sit here, like how you see, you have these amphitheater kind of steps which are there. And on the other side, there is a, like a stage where you could have an impromptu, a presentation, or actually a teacher could very well choose to address multiple classes from here. So this is actually the pod space which is there in the center of the block. Now coming to the quad is actually the world of the toddler. What we have tried to do, we have actually, this is fresh off the oven. We have been brainstorming with Shweta about what we can do about it, and we have looked at possible themes. One would be probably the Jungle Book, or one would be the Jurassic Park or something like that. So the entire ground floor of the school, where the K to grade 1. So what we do is we use the courtyard and we create a whole world for them. So what we try and do is, like we have a castle here, a tree house, a market. And we have also tried to play with optical illusion, and something like mind benders by doing these kind of design ideas on the floor, almost as if there is like an underground going. And the entire thing can also double up as a congregation space for the children, because you have a stage here, which you can see here, where children can actually, suppose there is a function for the entire K to 1, they can very well have the function there. So this would be the kind of look and feel, the castle and the tree house with the water, and like a slide. And there are also ways in which the children can actually climb into the pod and use the lower portion of the pod. So this is the zone which we have considered for the smaller children, which is called the quad.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. We always work hands-on, minds-on. So these spaces seem to allow that space in an informal setting. I can't wait to experience it.
But what about our classrooms? Would they also allow us to work this way?
Yes, actually, one of the interesting things which we have, which we have done here, which like Shweta also, Shweta had asked for, is that instead of having a traditional classroom, like in any school, if you go, let's say hypothetically, let's say grade 4 will have A, B, C. There are some schools which have in Bangalore which have about 20 sections. So you can imagine like that kind of volume. But here the idea was that instead of having a 4A, 4B, 4C kind of a thing, we divide the classroom into corners. So what would happen is that this would be the typical cluster, what you see here. So if you look at grade 4, that will be 1, that will be grade 5, grade 6, it will be that way. What we have done is that every classroom actually is divided into a science, a math, and a language corner. So instead of, the usual paradigm is that the children stay put in the class and the teachers do their rounds. But here, like what happens is that the children, when they come in here, they move across these corners. So they will go, for science, they go to the science corner, to the language and to the math, the children move. And the teachers actually sit here. Like this is the receiving place, circle time, where if you look at the teacher, the 3 teachers who handle science, math, and language, they have something like a docking point, which is here at the entry. We have taken our cues from, our ancient paradigm of the teacher under the tree. So what we have tried to do is that we have created a tree where the teacher, everything which the teacher requires is in the tree, and the teachers sit under this tree. And the classrooms sort of open like that would be the science, that would be the math and the language. So this becomes the fulcrum around which the entire, classrooms work. Now, once you come into a typical classroom, this would be the way, like one wall is called the teacher wall. And it has everything to do with the teaching, like the permanent displays and the, the temporary displays, and everything comes on that wall. The rest of the walls are given for student work. So like if children do something, suppose you have an open day and you need to display your stuff, everything would be here, like, and the children display their work over here. And the tables, we are looking at reconfigurable tables, which can quickly be put into various permutation and, combinations to give different groupings. So this is the way the classrooms are.
Will all the floors look the same? I'm in grade 4. Which floor will I have my classroom?
Yeah, actually all the floors will not look the same. If you look at the lower level, see, this is the existing block which you can see there, like this has got a rectilinear geometry the way it is right now. The way this works is that once you go to the upper level, see, this is how things change, where you have your circle time space and the 3 corners. So from the grade 2 upwards, the plans of the classrooms will change. And if you're in grade 4, you will probably be on the 2nd floor. Yeah, and your classrooms will look different. So this is the way the pod here and the classrooms which are there. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. I'm a parent from the KG section. The ratio kits that were sent home for online classes really fascinated us. So we are all really curious to see the ratio spaces and the sensory corners that you have set up in school.
I'll stop sharing. This is Ria will do this. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take you through my design process. So my design process began from research pertaining to the existing building and the 21st century learning, and concept boards, mood boards, pitches, ideation, 3D modeling, and final renders. So over the course of 4 months, I actually designed different corners, and they were all sensory corners. So I'm just going to take you through a few corners I did design in the IGCSE block of level 1. The first is the motor skill. So each area was designated 2 parallel walls, as you can see here. And the first area and corner I had ideated and designed was the motor skill corner. So motor skill is basically a learned ability to cause a predetermined movement outcome with a maximum certainty. And the aspects we considered before designing these spaces were safety constraint and also the hurt-proof material, because we are dealing with kids of a very young age group. And as you can see, these are a few renders and process renders of the motor skills area. So moving on to the sensory sound, the second activity corner, and the space revolves around props and instruments that feed the hearing sense of the child, expanding their creative thinking. So now we did incorporate your general instruments like your xylophone, your trumpets, and your drums. We also try incorporating other daily items that kids do see that do produce a sound to actually enable the expand the creative thinking. So you don't actually restrict them into just saying, okay, the instruments that makes such sounds are these. So these were a few corners. These were a few activities and props we did design. So as you can see, you have pipes that make different noises, and then you have your kitchen equipment that make different noises as well. And yeah, so the third area I'd worked on was the tactile visual and the sensory touch area. So for the tactile visual area, a series of distorted mirrors and acrylic sheets and also light reflecting panels were used. So the tactile visual area is actually a huge abstract piece of art, and it's basically incorporating all these different materials I just listed. And the final area is the sensory touch area. So it's basically a touch board spanning out to an entire wall's length and keeping in mind the safety constraints. And also different textures were used like upholstery, fabric, artificial grass, stone, pebbles, etc. That would be the different sensory corners that we had designed during, yeah. Thank you.
I would like to ask Mr. Shankar a question, and it's an important one. I'm a voracious reader, and I don't think you have shown us the library yet.
Yes, so here goes the library for you. As I mentioned earlier, the library is put right in the center here. It is in the central block, or the gallery block as we call it, because it has to be shared by both the school blocks. Now, the way the library has been designed is that it is actually a space which is partially under these steps. So this gives the concept, the overall concept of the library. What we have tried to do is that, unlike a usual library where usually the way a library would be done is that you have a big hall and then you have these bookshelves which are sort of placed, arrayed in this space. And then the residual area, you have these, reading tables and sofas and whatnot. So what we have tried to do is that we have tried to do away with that, and we have this entire wall of the library just plastered with books. So the entire bookshelves are on the peripheral wall of the library. Now, what this does for us is that the entire central portion becomes completely free. And we have given these, like a small level differences to differentiate between different types of seating and different types of, so here you have a little more casual seating. Here you have more formal, like here are the more serious ones where people sort of, sit on these tables. So the student would, go up, pick up a book and come down and sit here. And we also have these interesting cubby holes here where the children could actually, like kick off their shoes and, pull their feet up and actually, read in a rather cozy way. Now, this is the roof of the library. Like we have something called a geodesic dome. It is a ball made of steel and, and glass, and that allows light, natural light, to come into the library. So this is how the library would look. It is not all in one level, like you don't, like there are these high points and then there are these slopes and, like it's a lot of things happening here. Some general views of the library here now. So you get to see the different levels here, the steps going up, the wall of books. Yeah, this would be the huge book wall, those niches where you guys could sit and read books. This would be the reception, like the check-in, check-out, and the, like the entry point of the library. So all in all, I would say that the library is probably the high point of, the design here. Yes, thank you.
I want to know where our experiment labs are set, and what about our computer lab?
Yes. Yeah, the other thing what we tried to do was also to design the labs differently, and again going with purpose-built. The question was, how can we differentiate one lab from the other, the biology from the chemistry, from the physics to the computer. So what we did, or what we tried to do, was that first of all, the labs again are placed in the center because they are shared by both these, like both the blocks. And for example, in a chemistry lab, like what we have done is that we have picked up on, the benzene ring, which is probably the foundation of organic chemistry. So we have used the shape of the benzene ring, and we have these standard tables, which are 6 to a table, like 6 children to a table. And we have picked up that design vocabulary of the hexagon to the flooring, to the way the furniture sits. If you notice, like even the, like the storage counters, everything. This is the teacher's like demo table, the false ceiling, like everything. Like we have tried to pull that particular idea across. And all labs, what happens is that now this is a biology lab. So what we do is we have a separate zone for theory, like where the learning happens, and then you have the practical area here where the experiments actually happen. So in the biology lab, we have used the, we have been inspired from the shape of the amoeba. Again, the tables have 6 to, 6 to a table. This is the way it would look, the biology lab. At the computer lab, we have drawn our inspiration from a circuit board, like a motherboard circuit. And what we have tried to do is that we carry this vocabulary, to the ceiling and the way the tables are sitting. Yeah, so each lab, I would say, would be very different. And yes, like the physics lab again is, like a different like design. Yeah, there you are. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. Our labs truly personifies utility, creativity, and safety, a truly 21st century space for our budding scientists. I'm also happy that our makers have complied with the Cambridge requirements for examinations we need to conduct. And our labs are not just wet lab space, a teaching space, and a preparatory room, but also there are other intricate spaces and designs, truly amazing. I'm really excited and anticipating working with the next generation of our trailblazers from RACS Pallikudam in these labs. Thank you.
Mr. Shankar, when I drove past the school, I saw some odd-shaped protruding boxes. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yes, in all probability, you are referring to these balconies. What we have done is that every classroom cluster has 3 corners, like I mentioned, the science, math, and the language. So what we have done is that every corner has a balcony. And the reason we did that was to give a variety of space for the use of the children. Now, for example, suppose you have a science corner and there was something messy which the children were doing, then the children would go into these balconies here, and the activity would happen inside these balconies. So this is how it would look. These balconies, which which are projecting from the facade. Thank you.
What about Tinkerspace, the idea lab for all the rugged work we like to do?
Yes, actually the Tinkerspace is something we are still developing, but very basically what we have done is that the entire way in which the Tinkerspace works is that you have a place where you learn. There's a certain amount of teaching that happens formally, so that would be here. And then there is a place where a group is formed, and then you decide that you want to do something. You want to build a robot, you want to build a drone, or you want to build something. So this is the place where groups sort of sit together and work. There are computers here. So together this would form the design and theory section. Now, after the project has sort of been worked on, then the next thing is that it has to be built. So this would be the place where the build actually happens. This is more like a workshop, and this could become noisy, dusty, so which is why we have sort of separated these. So there would be a workshop for electronics, and there would be a workshop for carpentry and woodwork. So these are open to the outside here, and this would probably be the carpentry zone, and this would be the electronic zone. So any of these things, for example, if you are trying to build a drone or something, will have a certain body work which is done with wood, and then it will have the electronic gadgetry, the circuitry which goes in. So the two happen in these two different places. So this put together will be your STEM lab or your Tinker zone. Thank you.
Oh,
Everybody here is speaking about reading, labs, and classrooms. I like to act and perform on stage. Where do I do that?
Yes, what we have done is we have this huge space which is called the gallery. Now, this is something which we felt would be a great to have in a school, which usually you don't find in a school. So one of the things we were trying to do was that can we have a space where every child in the school can just come out and form sit on a place where they can see a particular function or a sport or something being played. So that was actually the way in which we came up with the shape of the gallery here, especially also for the fact, because of the fact that the school has so much of sport, and Shweta is very interested in taking sport to competitive sports. So we would imagine that there are a lot of competitions happening here, and also for your school's annual day function or your founders day, or the graduation day. So these are all these special occasions which happen a couple of times a year when you want the entire school to come together, children performing, parents coming. So this we envisaged as the grand gallery, where you would have a stage right at the bottom here. It's almost done at the site at the moment, and the children and the parents and everybody can sit all the way in varying heights. So this what you see in red here is the staircases, and the spaces, the landings of the space. These what you see are actually the seats which are there in the gallery. And these are these platforms, like what we call the learning decks, which are also happening here. So all together you would have, this would be the kind of space which you can, which you can envisage. So suppose it's a small function, then what would happen is that it would be a small gathering, and there would be somebody who's addressing a small group of people here. But if it's a mega function, then you would use the stage which is in between the basketball and the soccer, and you could have the entire thing as a as your gallery. So this is a view probably looking from the top down. The stage is somewhere there, so if you are performing, you would be there, and everybody in the school will be in these different levels here. This is a view down from the upper level. You can see the soccer field, which is a part of it, which is there. Yeah, so this would be the kind of a grand view. This was an earlier roof. We have looked at various options for roof of this gallery block. The stage would be here, like in axis to this gallery block. But now we have looked at a different roof finally. Yeah, thank you.
How about the sports facilities? What are the different sports we can be trained to pursue?
I think Len will take over.
Yes. So we have quite a number of sports here. So we'll start with the badminton courts. We have 6 badminton courts indoor. And also when it comes to tennis courts, we have 3 tennis courts, all international level and international standards. And we have 1 basketball court. And we have 1 5-a-side and 7-a-side football court. But this turf is specifically made for multi-purpose usage that you can play with other sports also. So this is a sports surfaces. Yeah, thank you.
Do we have cricket and swimming too?
Right now, we are planning. We are yet to design a swimming pool and cricket pitches. So in the future, you'll be definitely having cricket and swimming pool. Yes, thanks.
Sir, do we have play areas? Isn't there any space for our Wild Fridays? Do we only spend time within these blocks?
I think for this, Shweta ma'am will take over.
I'll answer this, Len. Hello. Yes. You certainly have a very good space for all your activities. It's called as what Friday, is it? For Friday, I didn't get what's that name actually?
Wild Friday.
It's Wild Friday.
Okay, White Friday. Okay, yeah. You certainly have a good space around outdoor activity. There's a little corner where you're able to see a slide. There's a little bio cave intercepted with the waterfall. You have a bridge, and you have a small lawn put together here. Where you can. That's what is her Shweta ma'am's idea of making a small food in the night and play around in that self cooking and all those stuff. So you certainly enjoy the outdoor areas. It's a mixed play adventure system catering to the smallest mind as well as to the to the middle aged and to the grown up one. Various kinds of activities. I'm sure you love interacting with, and especially as I was talking in the introductory on the trampoline, you will love that it's on an elevated. It's placed on a little elevated area, about 2.5 to 3 meters from the ground level. There's a whole lot of nicely built-in access system, the vertical access system. One with a log, another with a tire, another with a rope. The holding on the rope. How you guys see in the army, in the defense system. The whole lot of has been put nicely done, and then you go up to another level where you find you're at the higher zone, and you got a nice trampoline a net. It's basically a rope net which doesn't do too much of a bouncing. At the same time, you really experience that you're in the sky. Something like that. So yes. And apart from that, yes, you have a very good outdoor library too, where you can utilize for your beautiful evening study or relaxing study and under the shade of the tree. You certainly have a very good space outdoor.
Hooray! This is not the voice of mine. This is the voice of a little racksters who says this on every Wild Friday, which provides opportunities to explore nature and go wild in their thinking. I'm sure our new landscape adds wings to the imagination of these young minds. Isn't it, Veda?
You're right, Razina. I have a question too. How close are we to nature? Are we going to have a mini forest in our backyard?
Of course, yes. You're very, very close to the nature, I would like to say. Right behind the canteen block, you will experience the tall trees, a mix of tall trees, small trees, built into you. You will be astonished when you step in there after, it's beautifully done. It's a Japanese methodology we brought in. It's a kind of a new forest development, I would like to say. You find a little bit of a water where you can go inside, touch your feet there. You'll really love it.
Do we have a cafeteria too? Walking through the premises itself is so exhausting.
Yes. Talking about the cafeteria, like on top of your existing canteen block, we have an extension of the cafeteria. The idea here was to have a space where you can sit and and eat under a certain amount of natural light, green. And one of the ideas was like Shweta was mentioning about you guys having like a day for different like the cuisine from different parts of the world or the country. So we have taken a cue from that to show the the map of the world, and like it like you would have different occasions when you would have the cuisine of like from different places. So this is actually one part of the cafeteria, and on top of this we also have what is called a sports cafe. Now the sports cafe is actually a very unique experience, because you're on top here and you are looking directly into the like it's looking directly into the football arena here. So the way it is done is that you have a counter here, and what we are using, sport equipment, rackets, sticks, like bats, balls, like of different sports, and it will also have memorabilia from your own teams. Now, suppose the Racks team went and won, like a basketball, a state basketball, or a national football or something, then that would be recorded here. So this would be something like a Hall of Fame here, like inspiring further generations of aspiring sports, sportsmen and sportswomen. And the other thing we're also doing is to have a big display here. So suppose there is a major match going on, like your Racks versus some other school, or even a T20 final or something like that, that would be sort of broadcast here. And we have different kinds of seating, like you have your like seating along the counter, like you have stand-up seating, and then you have these kind of tables, and so this is where you would have a view of the of the sports ground from there. So this is the sports cafe. So this one, together with the canteen, like the cafeteria, like this forms the food, the provision for the campus. Thank you.
Sports cafe is open for the high school children of grade 9 and above, along with the parents and the teachers. So any informal meetings or any informal parenting workshops and such would be from the sports cafe. So in case a parent needs to have a one-on-one discussion with the head of the school or the principal or the teacher, or even in case a counseling one-on-one, they can pitch in, or they could even come up with a peer group, a parent, and have a little a coffee or a tea while waiting to pick up their children. So the sports cafe is basically for the high school children, as well as teachers and parents.
I would like to raise a query here. So what about the space for us, the teachers? I hope we aren't left behind.
Yes, ma'am. When we, when we visited the school, we saw a lot of, like teachers doing a lot of things. They were making like study props, and they were making banners and posters. And so what we have done is that we have this teacher zone, which is divided again into two spaces. One is where teachers do their research. So like we have these computer terminals here where research is done. And then you have your work table where teachers sort of process that information and come up with, plan the work, what they need to do, what kind of props to make. So that happens here. This is the planning portion. And then you actually have a teacher's work area where you have, this is pretty much like a work table where you take your Fevicol and your cutter blades and you actually, like cut things and put them together. And this is where you would actually make all the educational props which will be used for these different activities. So this becomes the teacher's lounge. Yeah, so this is what we have provided for the teachers. Then in addition to this, like we also have like a certain amount of teaching staff in the admin block, which is right in the like in the front. So when you enter the school approach, this is pretty much what you will see, where you have your reception, and then behind this is the like at the admin block, and this is actually a conference where parents and outsiders can meet with the like the school with the establishment. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Shweta, for introducing us to the makers and for a great presentation. I am waiting to get back to normal schooling, and I'm sure all the other children also feel the same. Thank you for making this such a wonderful...
Ashwin, wait. I think we are missing out on something. We had so many questions and we have all got our answers. I'm sure even the parent community has some questions. They're also curious to know more about our new campus. So can we go to them? Parents, please feel free to ask questions.
I understand and RACS is all about the community. We've seen the engaging learning spaces that you've created for the children and the working spaces for the teachers. So I would like to know what else we can expect as parents.
So Ms. Anna, as I had mentioned earlier, Pallikudam is all about community, and where we have teachers and the parents forming the major part of the community. So we have the sports cafe where we have separate lounges where it's only segregated for the parents, and then we would be having open seating spaces where we would be having the parents coming in as well. And later in the evening, we would be having the Wild Friday space opened up for parents over the weekend for you to bring your young learner to explore the spaces. So this is the plan for now, but we are not going to stop at this. Maybe there wouldn't be a much of change with a major structure, but as the children grow, so would the landscape of RACS Pallikudam.
Happy evening. Happy evening. I'm a parent of RACS Pallikudam. My son is in grade 3. I would like to know about the math activity corner for primary session.
Grade 3 would be on the first floor, and as the math corners, when Sparsh asked about the protruding corners from the classrooms, the little protruding boxes, so they would open out as the math corners for children to go and do the hands-on and to keep their aids or keep their learning materials safe there. So apart from that, you would also be every math corner will have an aids locker where aids according to the Cambridge curriculum would be stored there. So every child would have a hands-on experience with the learning happening based on the topic of discussion for that day or week. Parents, it's up to you now. We would like the parent community to have a meet or question our makers.
Hi, I'm architect Vishnu. I'm parent of Vivan in grade 1 and Tamara and Explorers. First of all, great appreciations for Shweta and all the designers, Sai Shankar, Kishore, and Len Ayappa. I think you guys have really taken Shweta's vision to reality. And I always wondered why we are taking quite some time for completion of the school, but looking at the presentation, looking at the kind of spaces design, as an architect, I do realize that good design really takes a little bit of time. And my only concern would be if all the safety aspects, because we have little children, we have different levels, or all the safety aspects have been taken care of. So that'll be my small concern. If I'm sure you guys would have already done it. So thank you.
Can I take that? Yeah. First of all, thank you. I mean, it's always nice to talk to an architect, and as an architect myself, and who also has a son who is 6 years old. So these are things which run in all our minds. We have taken all due diligence. First of all, we keep all up to grade 1. Everybody is on the ground floor so that they don't need to climb stairs to go to their learning environment and then to go out. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is that we have tried our best to limit the interaction of younger children and older children, which is why if you look at the design of the courtyard, what we had, what we have done is that children who are on the upper level, they can enter and exit the school without actually coming to the ground floor. Because had they come to the ground floor, there would have been a mix of traffic between the K to grade 1 and the upper children. So what we have done is we have split the traffic in such a way that the older children and the younger children never have to meet each other. So this is one thing which also was quite important to prevent the exposure of the exposure of especially the young ones from the older children. Then of course we have our our statutory compliance, where the height of the handrails and, you know, like things like that. So like those are all things which have been taken care of. Yes. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that answered my question in great detail. Thanks a lot, Sai Shankar.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that you mentioned we keep the different age groups in a different level. I think seeing a lot of things happening, I think that's a great effort, and great appreciations to Shweta again for the kind of level of detail you've gone into creating the school is unbelievable. Trust me. Thank you.
Yes, I must say that you know, she has been the most exacting of our clients. You know, where you know, the amount of time, you know, but it's such a it is such a joy doing this, because very honestly, the other schools, you know, like we are working on a couple of other schools under construction, even in Coimbatore right now. But the thing is, most of the other schools are business ventures, you know, where the people who run the school are not you know, educators themselves. So this has been quite an experience for us, where the person who takes the decisions are the, you know, like is the one who actually thinks from the eye level of a child, you know. So it's been a huge learning for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, till you are ready, I have a few questions coming on Facebook. Will there be any upgradation of the Little Pallikudam campus? Yes, we have already started renovating and upgrading our Little Pallikudam campus, as we have a lot of time up our sleeves right now. We are already done with our ground floor, and we would be taking up and also adding on. So when Ria talks about the different sensory that she's custom making for the grade campus, so the children would have the same experience and the engagement would be the same in the junior campus as well. So whatever we make there would be made for the junior campus. So we are not going to compromise on a place that has started and initiated the growth of Pallikudam, and this would always be very close to our heart. And it would be a facility which caters to a minimum segment of children, where you know, we are only looking at, as a student-teacher ratio is small, and also our the need of having our strength small to be given the personal attention to the children is a priority. So again, going back to your question, we have already started work on upgrading the junior campus, and the same facilities and the activities that are available there. I wouldn't say it would be a replica, but it would be, most of it what is available there would be made available here as well in the given space. And the other question, when can we expect our children to use these amazing facilities? We are almost done with the construction, and we are only into the final stages of fitting things, and also the facade coming up. And depending on when the schools are you know, ready to reopen after the pandemic, we would be ready to open up the facilities. The block 1 and the library, the gallery facilities would be up and running, along with the sports. And the block 2 would take a little longer, because we want to grow with, we want to have it a little different compared with the experiences of block 1. However, 2022 June would be the deadline for our the second block. But our block 1, along with all the landscape, the sports facilities, and our library and lab spaces would be up and running. And we are also planning to open it out to parents from the second week of January for review, once we are ready to open up. And again, going back to Mr. Vishnu's query of how safe it is, the entire campus RACS 3.0 is custom made. It's custom made to only cater to 750 children in the ICSE board and 750 children in the Cambridge board, eventually when we are on a full strength. And we would only be having 3 sections of every grade in our ICSE, and 3 sections of every grade of 20 children in a section in the Cambridge. So that would bring us only, in terms of handling 1,500 children. And the school is purpose-built only to cater to a small strength. So that would also give us the confidence of handling children. And the time, there would be a little difference in timing when we are running full house, right from the lunch timing to our snack timing, everything would be different from one set of children to the next grade of children. So primary, we are talking about kindergarten, pre-KG, and the primary would be having a different timing compared to the mid-school and the senior school. So these are all the things that we have taken into consideration, right from the exit to the entry of children coming in.
Thanks, Shweta again. Yeah, great work, great work.
Thank you all for your valuable time.
Hello, yeah. You guys can hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Karthik, you're good to go. Karthik, you're not audible. You need to unmute. Yeah, fine.
Perfect. Looking at the entire gamut of things, there. First of all, let me extend the congratulations to the. Is it audible now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you're a bit muffled. Yeah, yeah.
I think you're good to go. Is there any other parent who would like to take it?
Can I use this opportunity to say something? This is Pavarna. I'm a parent of a grade 1 student. To start off with, I have to tell you, my son was so excited. He saw a few seconds of videos yesterday. And as soon as he saw it, he's like, oh, wow, is this my school? So that sense of pride that you have given for the child, he's so looking forward to come to the campus. I think that's a great start, because after a year of staying at home, I was sort of worried how will he get back to school and stuff. But after seeing yesterday's video, he's raring to go to school. So that's a great start. And of course, to Ms. Shweta and all the teachers, they give so much of importance to make sure that the quality of education is on par with everything else. So similarly, I feel the design and everything has also been top class. It's literally like, the library and all looks like checking into like a first class lounge of an aircraft or something, it's like fabulous. It's really 3.0, it's avant-garde, everything, it's superb, it's fantastic. It's just considering the current situation, pandemic, COVID, and all that happening, I'm a little wary of the ventilation that's there in school. I see a lot of light coming in through your pods and the glass and everything, but what about the ventilation or cross ventilation, natural air that's going to be in? Is that there at all in the classrooms?
Can I take that? Yeah. Yeah. See, like every classroom has an entire wall, a long wall, which has got a huge window. And then every classroom also has a balcony, which, like is completely sort of open. Of course, you have your grills in the end. So in the classroom level, I mean, like we were at site last week, and, it's very bright, like it's a very bright and airy, experience. So I would say that definitely, yes, the classrooms, have sufficient like windows and ventilation. Like even the common area, like where you have the pod, that is actually something like a courtyard. So what we have done is that we keep the rain out on the top by having what is called a tensile fabric structure. But then it is done in such a way that there are heat extractors which sort of, which is constantly sucking the air up, so that there is a natural draft of ventilation happening through the building. So even in the block level, that is taken care of. The gallery, which is the other space, the gallery block is completely open on top. I mean, like you just have the roof, which goes at quite a height, and that would attract quite a bit of gusts of wind. The only air-conditioned spaces are the labs. I mean, like where we are looking at the provision of air conditioning. So that would be a challenge. I think like any air conditioned space, I think the school may have to look at the practicality of air conditioning, like in today's world, because this design started before the pandemic did, and I think the way we look at air conditioned spaces as a luxury and now as an evil, necessary evil. So I think this like we'll have to think through this thing about air conditioning. I think Shweta can answer. Yeah.
And the other thing I would also like to pitch in here is we are talking about a class size of 450 to 500 square feet of space that has been ideally ideally that is supposed to house 30 to 40 children as per the government standards.
Yeah.
So we are basically having half the strength of 20 to 20 children in a classroom, where we have been given enough space for a child to maintain social distancing or even stay away. Because ideally the government standards of classrooms of 450 to 500 caters to having housing in 30 to 35 children minimum, which extends to 40 in many schools. So, so considering it's a 1:20 that we're talking about, there is ample space given to a child in a class.
Like, and depending
along
upon,
with the ventilation.
Yeah. Just to add, depending on the age group, we are actually looking at the possibility of single tables to a child versus, two to a table. So to the extent where there'll be only one child, like on a table. So that's also one thing which, we have never done that before. So our densities are very low, as far as classrooms are concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, apologies for the earlier thing. I think should be able to hear now.
Yeah, can.
Yeah, fantastic. Having looked at the entire scheme of things that was on here, first of all, let me extend my congratulations to the entire team. I think to put on vision is one thing, to execute is a different thing, right? So I think that's really gone on very well. So
thank you.
That's really good. I understand the difficulty. Primarily, what we do is once the architect digs, we execute. So
I think we have lost you. We can't hear you now. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're back. Yeah.
To put it on vision is one thing and executing is a completely different thing. So from that perspective, fantastic, very well done.
Thank you.
And we have a complete blend of sports and academics. Yeah. So which is one of its kind in the region, I would say. So once this vision has come up and now the execution is there, and then the final leap now. So well done, all of you, and I look forward to. I'm pretty chuffed for my daughter, honestly. So well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question coming up again, talking about air conditioning. I think we mentioning about the air conditioning at labs has raised eyebrows for a few. We are not this school. One thing I was particular with Mr. Shankar is we're not going in for air conditioning, because that's how we have started off in the little campus, and so would we in great campus as well. Because Coimbatore weather, other than the month of maybe a month of September, April and May, other than these months, we are quite blessed with a fantastic weather, which doesn't call for having air conditioned systems. So we would not be going in for the air conditioned systems, other than a few labs which demand labs in terms of maybe the chemistry and the biology, but not in terms of the tinker space or the composite labs that we have planned for a smaller primary class children. And library, yes, because the library has been designed in such a way that we shouldn't be trapped with water coming in and which spoils in the books. So a portion of it is going to be air conditioned and the other portion of it would be left open. So air conditioning is not our forte, and definitely we wouldn't be air conditioning the classrooms. Not now, not eventually, and we don't have a provision for that as well. Yeah, parents, please go ahead. We're running short of time. I'm
Hi.
sure back to your family.
Hi. Oh, somebody. All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Pratula. My kids go to the kindergarten. They're twin boys. First of all, congratulations to the whole team and thank you, Shweta ma'am. I think you have a great vision. Like the other parents said, I don't think in Coimbatore region we have a school like this. And I'm really excited to come and visit the campus, and congratulations to the whole team. So much intricate planning and attention to detail. I'm really excited to come, and I think the kids would love coming to school. It will no more be a punishment for them to come to school, and I think it's going to be a great journey. Congratulations to the whole team.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Hi, I just want to say congratulations, and I think you guys have put up a great, commendable work. Just one question I heard Ms. Shweta saying, there'll be 30 students a classroom. It's a long, short question, but what would be the size of the campus? I mean, how many students could it hold at the max? Maybe in the number of classrooms.
It's not 30. It is. We don't take more than 20 children in a class. From grade 1 to grade 4, and it's 23 from after that. And the school can only accommodate 750 children in the ICSE block and 750 children in the Cambridge block. And that is it. So even a section of, we would only be having 3 sections of ICSE and 3 sections of the Cambridge eventually, where we would only be restricting it to 60 children in a grade size for a grade 3 or a grade 4. So, it would be 750 in ICSE and 750 for the Cambridge. That would be the maximum that we would be able to fit into the campus to give the personalized attention that we have promised to parents. So we would still be maintaining it as 1:20, and no way are we going back, because when we talk about a 21st century learning environment, we need to have 21st century children, we need to have a 21st century teacher, and even the parents have to be 21st century for us to cater to it. And definitely we will not be compromising on the environment that is only catered to hold a smaller group.
Thank you. Thank you.
Parents, we're waiting. Mr. Rahul, would you like to pitch in?
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much, for taking your time out and explaining in detail about, the facilities and the project. It's really wonderful to actually see, so much of work that's actually gone through with your team. So kudos to that. Congratulations to all of you. Love the architecture. I'm actually really proud and really happy to see to have Nila and Nakshatra go to school. I'm actually very close to RACS Pallikudam, so given an opportunity, I'll probably come into the sports cafe, and it looks really, really nice. You should probably give us all parents an opportunity to visit often, and I really, really hope this goes well as per your vision. And congratulations once again, Shweta ma'am and team.
Thank you.
We have Dr. Lavanya. Would you like to put forth any questions, ma'am? Dr. Lavanya, Dr. Vimla. Mrs. Sri, Advika, you have your mother there with any questions? Do we have Dr. Vimla and Dr. Lavanya? Would you like to put forth any questions? Teachers, any questions that you would like to put forth? Nothing at all? Okay, so thank you, parents. Thank you for having taken your time off on a Friday, on a Sunday evening, and for having made yourself available. Ashwat, you could go ahead and take off from here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for your valuable time. And with this, we come to the end of this evening, well spent getting to know about Pallikudam 3.0.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation as much as that made by our makers.
I thank our makers for taking time off their schedule and presenting their work, their ideas, and their design to our patrons.
And as we wait with bated breath to get to school safe and healthy, we carry the images shared today in our hearts and dream of the unstoppable journey that we have begun. Thank you.